Step right up, history buffs and myth lovers. Have you ever wondered about the larger-than-life rulers who blurred the lines between God and man, whose stories have echoed through millennia? Today we're embarking on an epic journey to meet the most legendary kings of mythology. These aren't your average monarchs. These are men of divine heritage, immense power, and stories so grand they shaped the very cultures they ruled. So grab your seat at the royal court, because our saga begins now. First, let's travel to the sun-drenched sands of ancient Mesopotamia to the city of Uruk. Here we find Gilgamesh, a name that resonates with raw power and a thirst for immortality. Said to be 2/3 god and 1/3 man, Gilgamesh wasn't just a king, he was a force of nature. His story, inscribed on clay tablets in one of the world's first great works of literature, tells of a tyrannical ruler transformed by an unlikely friendship. He met his match in Enkidu, a wild man created by the gods to humble him. Together they embarked on incredible adventures, slaying monsters like Humbaba, the guardian of the cedar forest. But when tragedy struck and Enkidu died, Gilgamesh was shattered. His grief turned into a desperate, all-consuming fear of his own mortality. He journeyed to the ends of the earth, seeking the secret to eternal life from Utnapishtim, the survivor of the Great Flood. Though he ultimately failed to find immortality, Gilgamesh returned to Uruk a changed man. He learned that true immortality isn't about living forever, but about the legacy we leave behind, the walls we build, the stories we tell, and the wisdom we gain. Gilgamesh teaches us that even the most powerful kings must face the universal human condition. Now let's set sail across the Aegean Sea to the rugged island of Crete, home to the labyrinth and its fearsome master, King Minos. Son of Zeus and the mortal princess Europa, Minos had a direct line to the divine. He was a powerful and just lawgiver, so respected that after his death, he became one of the 3 judges of the underworld. But his reign is forever tied to a story of pride and punishment. To prove his divine right to rule, Minos prayed to Poseidon to send a magnificent white bull from the sea, which he promised to sacrifice. Poseidon obliged, but the bull was so beautiful that Minos, in his greed, decided to keep it and sacrificed a lesser one instead. "You don't trick the god of the sea!" Enraged, Poseidon cursed Minos' wife, Pasiphae, causing her to fall in love with the bull. The result of this unnatural union was the Minotaur, a monstrous creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull. Horrified and ashamed, Minos commissioned the brilliant inventor Daedalus to construct an inescapable prison for the beast, the famous labyrinth. Minos' story is a classic cautionary tale. Even for a king with divine blood, hubris and broken promises lead to monstrous consequences. His legacy is a maze of power, pride, and divine retribution. From the Mediterranean, our journey takes us north to the mist-shrouded Isle of Britain and to a king whose name is synonymous with chivalry, justice, and destiny, King Arthur. Was he a real historical figure or purely a legend? The debate rages on, but the power of his story is undeniable. Arthur's tale begins with magic and prophecy. Pulled from a stone as a boy, the sword Excalibur proclaimed him the rightful king of Britain. Guided by the wise wizard Merlin, Arthur established a golden age of peace and prosperity. At the heart of his kingdom was Camelot, and at the heart of Camelot was the Round Table. This wasn't just a piece of furniture, it was a revolutionary symbol. Here, his knights, the bravest and most noble in the land, sat as equals. There was no head of the table, signifying a brotherhood united in a common cause, to uphold justice, protect the weak, and embark on epic quests, like the search for the Holy Grail. Arthur represents the ideal ruler, wise, brave, and just. He's the king who unites a fractured land and inspires greatness in others. But his story is also a tragedy. Betrayal from within by his own son Mordred and his trusted knight Lancelot ultimately brought Camelot crashing down. Yet, even in defeat, the legend promises that Arthur is not truly gone, but sleeping in Avalon, waiting to return when Britain needs him most. Next, we journey to the lush landscapes of ancient India to hear the tale of Rama, the seventh avatar of the god Vishnu, and the hero of the epic Ramayana. Rama was the prince of Ayodhya, the embodiment of Dharma, which means righteousness, duty, and moral order. He was the perfect son, the perfect husband, and the perfect king. His life was a testament to upholding one's duty, no matter the personal cost. When his stepmother, influenced by a manipulative maid, demanded he be exiled for 14 years so her own son could take the throne, Rama accepted his fate without a word of protest. He willingly gave up his kingdom and retreated into the forest with his devoted wife, Sita, and his loyal brother, Lakshmana. But his trials were far from over. The demon king of Lanka, the 10-headed Ravana, abducted Sita, sparking an epic war. Rama, allied with an army of monkeys led by the great Hanuman, bridged the sea to Lanka, fought a monumental battle, and ultimately defeated Ravana to rescue his wife. When he finally returned to Ayodhya, he was welcomed as a hero and crowned king. Rama's reign, known as Rama Rajya, is considered the epitome of a perfect, just, and prosperous kingdom in Hindu tradition. He is more than a king. He is a divine example of how to live a life of virtue and unwavering commitment to righteousness. Finally, we travel to the cold, harsh lands of Scandinavia, to the Great Hall of Heorot, which is under siege by a monster. The king here is Hrothgar, the Danish ruler from the epic poem Beowulf. While not a demigod himself, Hrothgar's story is a powerful exploration of what it means to be a good king facing a crisis beyond his control. Hrothgar was a successful and generous ruler. He built the magnificent mead hall, Heorot, as a place for his warriors to celebrate, feast, and share in the spoils of their victories. He was a ring giver, a king who secured the loyalty of his men through generosity. For 12 long years, the great hall stood silent and empty. Hrothgar was left powerless, aged by grief and unable to protect his people from this supernatural threat. His helplessness shows the limits of mortal kingship, but Hrothgar also embodies wisdom. When the great hero Beowulf arrives to fight the monster, Hrothgar accepts his help with grace and humility. He is a king who knows his own limitations and has the wisdom to embrace a hero who can save his kingdom. Hrothgar represents the aged, wise king who has seen both glory and despair, and whose ultimate success lies in his ability to lead his people through their darkest hour, even if he can't fight the battle himself. From Gilgamesh's quest for immortality to Arthur's dream of Camelot, from Minos's hubris to Rama's righteousness, and Hrothgar's wisdom, these mythological kings are more than just characters in ancient stories. They are powerful archetypes that explore the very nature of leadership, power, morality, and our own humanity. They teach us about the burdens of the crown, the temptation of pride, and the enduring quest for a legacy that outlives us. Their kingdoms may have been mythical, but the lessons they offer are timeless. Which of these legendary kings inspires you the most? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me on this epic adventure through the annals of myth and legend. If you enjoyed this journey, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the fascinating stories of the past. Until next time, stay curious.